Hello everyone, it's Robin the Delta Crafter and I want to thank you for joining me for another video on my YouTube channel. Today is a special video because I was chosen as one of the card crafters created by Joy's Shark Week stamp set. This stamp set is currently on pre-order and the pre-order ends on June 13th, so you better grab it if you're ready and you really want it. So this year's set is called Merry Sharkmas, and as you can see, there are a lot of images on here, stamps on here that are sharks celebrating the Christmas holiday. I thought this was so cute, and it has great sentiments to go along with it as well. So I'm going to be using this to create a card today. The first thing that I wanted to do was choose a sentiment, or rather an image that I wanted to work with. So I chose this shark who is decorating the seashell themed Christmas tree. So I'm going to stamp that image a couple of times using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And the reason why I'm using this Memento Tuxedo Black ink is because this ink works really well with Copic coloring. So I'm going to be coloring in these images with some Copic markers. You will want to allow this ink to dry a little bit before you start coloring, just to ensure that you don't have any smearing. So here you can see that I've stamped the two images from the Merry Sharkmas set, but I did reach back and use last year's set as well, which is called Beachy Sharks. That's the larger stamp set that you see here. I loved all of the little beach themed accents that were in that set, so I decided to pull some of those forward and use with this year's set as well. So we're going to come in with the Copic colors that I'm going to be using. And I've decided to use several different shades of tan, a couple of shades of aqua or blue, and one shade of like a rose pink color. To make sure that everything fits together with the beach theme, I'm not going to color my Christmas tree a traditional deep green color. I'm going to use some aqua colors to carry out the beach theme, which I'm going for in this card. So I started off with my darker color by mistake, and then now I'm switching to my lighter color. So the first color that I'm going to lay down on my tree is BG23, and I left the cap up there at the top for you, but I'm also going to have all the colors on the screen for you, as well as listed in the description box below. So I've kind of got about half of my tree done, and now I'm going to come in with my darker color, which is BG15, and I want to make sure that I want to make sure that my first color is still wet when I come in with my second color, and so that I can get a good blend between the two colors. So I'm going to come back in with that BG23 and kind of soften that line between the two colors and get a good shading there. And then I'm going to continue on coloring in the tree, the rest of the tree. I'm also going to continue down into that second image because these two are both going to end up on the card. So now that I've gotten my trees pretty much colored in the way that I want them to, and you can see the darker little shadow side on the left there, I'm going to come in and decorate the tree, fill in those seashell ornaments all over the tree and the starfish topper. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and do our tree trunk. And again, I wanted this to be more of a little sandy brown than a regular dark brown that you might find in a actual Christmas tree trunk. So I've gotten that. Now I'm going to bring in about 4 different colors of like tan and peach to color in those ornaments and the starfish all over the tree. And I'm going to do them randomly. They're not going to be the exact same on both trees. They're just going to go all over the place. The first color I put down was E02. Then I moved on to E00. The next color will be YR02. Using that one now, coloring in that starfish topper, which I think is so cute. Let me know in the description box below if you have a themed Christmas tree in your home. That last color that I used was E33, so that's going to round out all the 4 colors I used for the seashells. Now it's time to move on to our adorable little shark friend there. So I wanted to, again, to keep with that beachy theme. So we wanted to go with a bright, punchy color for his shirt. So I'm going to be using RV25, which is kind of a bright, punchy rose kind of red, rose pink kind of color. Um, it's definitely giving that tropical vibe for sure. And then for the body of the shark, I'm going to use N2, which is kind of a mid-tone gray. It's not the darkest, but it's also not the lightest gray. It's going to give us just enough detail to know where that the shark's body is there. So we're going to move on to all the little beach accessories, and we're going to use that same color palette to color in all of these things. So we're going to color in the pail for the sand pail. We're going to use that pinky color, and then we're going to use those browns and tans to color in our sand as well as our little coconut drink here. All right, we got everything colored in. I just realized I left that little part of the coconut uncolored, but that's okay. That's just to let you know that it's handmade. And here's a closer look at my Copic coloring. I'm kind of proud of this Copic coloring because it is definitely not my strongest skill, but I am getting better and I'm enjoying it. So this set does not come with dies, so I'm going to fussy cut the images out using a pair of precision scissors. These are my cutter bee scissors, and this particular pair I have had, I know, at least 20 years. Way back from my scrapbooking days, and they are still sharp and they are still going strong. And I love them. So if you don't have a pair of precision scissors, they are worth investing in a pair when you have scenarios and situations like this. So finishing up the last little bit of this Christmas tree, and then we're going to be ready to move on to creating our card base. So we're going to create a beach scene on our card panel, and we're going to be using 3 different distress inks. We're going to come in first with some tie-dye, and these are the regular distress inks, which if you've watched me create cards before, you know these are my absolute favorites. They are the ones that I reach for majority of the time. So no surprise here, I'm going to be reaching for them here. We're going to be using, lay down a decent layer of tie-dye. And I'm actually going to be embossing over this, but I want to lay down this tie-dye to be kind of a background color in case there isn't great coverage of the embossing powder. After that, I'm moving into laying down some salvage patina. So this is going to give us a good transition from the sand into the water. Because this salvage patina to me looks like beach water. So I'm going to lay down a good layer of that. Don't worry about the side where you see it might be a little bit more intense. That's going to dry back and it's going to even out. And the last color that we're going to use is tumbled glass. This is a beautiful light blue color that is going to represent the sky. So I'm bringing in some embossing watermark ink. This ink is from Hero Arts. So I'm going to bring this little cube in and I'm going to tap it all over the sand. And this is going to cover that sandy area with that embossing powder. Embossing ink. Now, if we take a closer look, I'm going to bring the panel up here. You can see we have some harsh edges of that embossing ink where the square of the ink is kind of making some harsh edges on our panel. So I'm going to take a paper towel and I'm just going to dab that paper towel along that edge to kind of smooth it out a little bit. This is going to give us a great transition from the sand into the water, and you can't even see there those harsh lines have been removed. Now I'm going to bring in this sand embossing powder. This embossing powder from Hero Arts, you guys, is magic. It is one of my favorite embossing powders, and I try to use it as often as I can. So I'm going to sprinkle that all over the card generously. One thing I forgot to say is that you either want to hit your panel with a heat gun or allow it to dry before you do any embossing. Otherwise, your embossing powder will stick to the ink because the ink is not dry yet. So make sure you give it a little bit of dry time. And you're going to tap off the excess embossing powder and run your heat tool all over that embossing powder and watch it melt. This is one of the most fun things to watch in card making and in crafting, is to watch that embossing powder really come to life. And now let's take a closer look at both this beautiful golden emboss powder, as well as that beautiful edge that we were able to get by using that paper towel and going and dabbing it across the edge of the line. So now that our panel is ready, it's time to lay out our images. So I decided that I don't want two sharks, I just want two trees. So I'm going to come in with my scissors once again, and I'm going to fussy cut the shark away from the tree. That way I'm just left with just the tree. So we're going to act like this shark is really decorating the beach with lots and lots of trees. So we're going to put our tree down, our shark down. We're going to put our beach accessories, especially the drink. We're going to place those where we want them. And we're going to use that old trick of using that press and seal to grab everything and make sure that it stays exactly how we want it to, how we laid it out. So now I'm going to come in with some double-sided foam adhesive squares from scrapbook.com, and I'm going to use these as some adhesive, but both adhesive as well as to give some dimension to the images that I colored with the Copic markers. Once I've gotten all the squares on the card, I'm going to peel off all the backers from the squares, and I'm going to place the images back onto our card panel, and we're going to secure them to this card panel. Peel that and press and seal away, and now everything is nice and adhered to the card panel. We stamped that Merry Sharkmas sentiment using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and that gives us a crisp image for our sentiment. Of course, you knew some foam tape was coming in on the back of that panel. If you know me, you know that that was a necessity. And now we're going to stick it to our card base. This card base is made with accent opaque, 120-pound weight cardstock, so it's really going to be able to withstand the weight of the foam tape as well as all the images that we applied to the card panel. The card panel was made from Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, if I didn't mention that before. And here's a closer look at our finished card. As I mentioned before, all of the products will be listed and linked below in the description box for you. And you can easily find the stamp set at Joy's website, and I'll be sure to link that as well. I went ahead and made a second card. I have a couple more trees on this one, and I also used some embossing powder on the water and the sky as well. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider giving it a thumbs up and joining the Delta Crafter family. You can always find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Delta Crafter, as well as on my website, thedeltacrafter.com. Please be sure to check out Joy's website, and until next time, everyone, enjoy!